Okay, you're the owner of the room, so how do you want this to happen? And maybe just a few minutes before other friends come into the room.
Yeah, because I don't think it should be like that block. Okay, let's show the game. I mean, how does it work? It's all dynamic. So we can show the puzzle, we can show the cast, we can show
Yeah, maybe you can show
Spanish road, as long as you make the questions on how you.
Okay, go ahead. You can share your screen.
Okay. So, oh shit. 1 moment. Okay. So that should work. Okay, so do you see the screen, right?
Yeah. Ok. A tutti nel canale cliccate su guarda in diretta. Ok. Just telling everyone to click on the small video.
And I will be the whole day here, so if someone wants to have a look more carefully later, I'm meeting someone at 3 who wrote me, so just feel free.
Okay.
So there's no problem. Okay, so just to show a little bit, I mean, of the game. So, and later, if you want to have a look at more questions or something more concrete, this is the Collapse. This is a strategic war game about the 30 Years' War. It's 1618 till 1648. What people should know is not only, it was not one war, it was a series of wars connected. But as soon as one finished, we can say like the next one started. So the problem continues and continues to go on. So when we started in 1618, it was not really like a moment of conflict. It has its roots from 1555. So the problem was going on. So you never know when it started. It was one start. So the Defenestration of Prague probably was the last drop who filled the glass. But it was a question to happen. So when you see in the game that is for 2 players, it's the Catholics versus the Protestants, the religious issue conflict was an excuse to let show the political complications, disturbances, disputes between regions, north, east, even within the same Catholics inside. Because some people know that Sawa was Catholic, but Sawa was not really keen at the end with the Spanish. So the religious was used an excuse. So in the game, the religion has no effect. But what it shows is the 3 dimensions, is the political, because in the game, so you need to control the regions to win the victory point. So is the first values, the one that you see in green. These are the values of victory points that you gain. So at the end, the one who has the victory point on his side is the winner. So this is the political dimension. So you need to control the regions. How you control them? By controlling the cities in the region. And this means that you need to use the military units and the leaders. So you have a second dimension, the military. But also you have the diplomacy. So you have a track here, what shows the different alliances: Saxony, England, the papacy, Hungary, Brandenburg, how Spain was going to be more destabilized. The foreign intervention, so this is when mainly Denmark, Sweden, and France enters. So you need to find a good balance between the 3 dimensions, and you cannot do only one, because you're going to leave the doors open for the others. So finding a good balance, it's a challenge in the game. And that's what probably makes it interesting, and each game replayable. So there's no difference. So, and how you using in the game, how you play it. So you have the cards, for instance. So let me show.
I think we are not seeing the cards. The other.
No, but let me do something. I will share the screen.
Yeah, probably it's better if you share the screen on the PC. Okay.
One moment. and I share the screen.
Ok, un attimo che deve fare uno share dello screen in quanto tale, perché se fa soltanto Vassal si vede soltanto una finestra. Ok. Tanto un po' riassumo un po' per chi un attimino meno di dimestichezza con l'inglese. Il gioco di Daniel ha varie dimensioni, quindi militare, politica e diplomatica. Il problema appunto è riuscire a bilanciare bene tutte queste cose. Non è una simulazione puramente militare, perché se voi magari vi concentrate sulla conquista del territorio punto e basta, magari improvvisamente vi trovate accerchiati da una marea di altra gente che vi combatte contro perché l'altro ha lavorato meglio dal punto di vista diplomatico. Ecco, questo fa parte del modello storico. Daniel, how's it going?
Let me see. So if it shows the cards. Okay. Okay, now it should work. Okay, let me share the screen.
Ok, di nuovo, guarda in diretta, let's go to the screen. Oh, yes, now we see that.
That's the cards. This is, I have to say, like the graphic artist is Donald Hegarty, so
Fantastic.
you may know him for Fields of Fire, Labyrinth, my favorite game. And it's not only from GMT because he's no, but Fire and Stone, it's amazing. And it's not only that he does the art, he checks everything, it fits in the historical setting, proposes changes, so this is simply amazing. I mean, he's capturing, the art and what it says the card. So, for instance, in the cards here, when you have it and the number, on the top where it says 2, for instance, in the papacy support, this is the operation points. You have 6 cards in the game. And you can either use the card for operations, you use the whole event for the operations over the different operations that you have it, deploy, you can recruit militias, you can march, you can have a minor battle, you can have a major battle, you can have a naval blockade the Protestant, you can use on the diplomacy, so you can use these points in what you can. Obviously, it's not enough for doing everything, you have to prioritize.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a second option, and that is an event. So if the event has a cost of 1, for instance, the papacy support, you use that cost from the operations points. So you always want to have 1 point left. That's something I wanted to reflect. So because other CDGs, or you use the card for the event or for operations. So it's still a little bit that you can do. Maybe it's not too much, but
you can use the event and the operation points that are left from the cost of the event.
And you can repeat the same operation even twice in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, if you have any other operations. So if you want to deploy twice, you can do it. And you are not forced to define on this start, so I want to make the event and I want to make the operation. So you can use 1 operation point, see how it works, and then decide what you're doing with the second one.
Great.
So that's what makes the game more flexible. Besides that, since it's a common deck, there's not a Catholic and there's not a Protestant. So the game is more replayable and you cannot really plan ahead. And in the game, every 3 turns enters new cards. So you are sure that there's going to be a difference.
The deck will grow with the game. Quindi, per essere chiari, just a moment in Italian, per essere chiari, praticamente come in tutti i CDG o usate la carta per l'evento o per l'operazione, ma la cosa interessante è che se la utilizzate per l'evento vi rimane comunque la differenza di costo tra due. Per esempio Hungarian Politics, vedete che costa 1 l'evento, se lo usate per l'evento vi rimane 1 dei punti operazione della carta, quindi qualcosina potete sempre fare, non è completamente 1-2 binario, diciamo. E ovviamente il mazzo è uno di quei giochi in cui il mazzo viene ad essere aumentato nelle varie fasi, quindi questo nelle varie fasi del gioco vengono inserite altre carte. Go ahead, Daniel.
So as you see, like there are the 5 moments. So when they start the cards, on the first turn is the opening gears. On the turn 3, it enters the Danish intervention.
Okay.
On turn 5, enters the card from the Swedish and the French intervention in the final year. So you have 5 different moments. This matches the historical setting, so it's not that it's more complicated or less complicated one area or not, because it was complicated anyways.
It's the 30 Years' War. It was complicated.
It was complicated. So what was trying to reflect in this game that it's not easy to move the armies without understanding that it is strategic. So you are gonna feed the armies with what you can get from the ground directly. So you need to ravage the regions to get resources. You're gonna get some resources for your own national interest. And from outside, what it was the subsidies. What is known, the French was subsidizing the war in one way or another. So you have to find a balance. So the problem is, if you ravage a region, the first time it's okay, kind of okay. But if you ravage the second region, and you are gonna move from a region ravage or moving to, you are gonna suffer one attrition. Means you flip one unit.
Yeah, great. So it's a bit like the Living campaign. You can ravage the territory, but after you ravage the territory, you cannot forage out of it. So it becomes increasingly harder. And it is very nice because many military campaigns of that conflict were directly influenced from the need of gathering provisions. Some of them were made just because one piece of Europe was so ravaged that it had no more provisions for that armies, so they had to move that armies in another part to get more provisions, and then these started battles, and it's like war feeding itself.
And even you have to plan ahead. I mean, which cities are you gonna ravage? Because the minor cities give you one resource, which is easier to capture, but the fortified cities and capitals, you need to take a siege. So you're gonna get more resources, 3 and 5. So it's more interesting to ravage a capital, yes. The problem is it's harder to conquer. And that's gonna be the problem, because if you don't control the fortified cities and capitals, you cannot get the control of the region, because it's necessary to control all the fortified cities and capitals, besides some minor cities, depending on the number which is left, to control the region. So you need to be very careful. And also, you're going to suffer attrition for the ravaged regions, but you are going to suffer attrition for the sieges. You're going to suffer attrition for the battles, for some cars. At the end of the turn, if you are not in a region you control, you're going to suffer attrition. So probably one you need to flip it. It's not a problem. The problem is that you are going to be suffering for the whole turn. So it's you cannot flip a unit that is reduced to the force pool. So because first it has to be like the full strength. You have different categories of units. So the strongest ones, which is the tertius, probably you're gonna be wanting to left it behind so they don't suffer attrition. But at the end, probably if you are so active military, you're gonna suffer anyways. So the system regulates itself. So if you're too aggressive, the losses are so high.
Yeah.
The problem, you don't have armies to continue. So you have to use diplomacy to bring allies.
To get more resources for that armies. Yeah. Quindi il gioco praticamente un po' si autobilancia, perché se voi avete degli eserciti enormi c'è tutto questo aspetto dell'attrito dei territori che dovete fare, degli eserciti che dovete mantenere, che ovviamente magari se siete troppo aggressivi, fate un esercito troppo grosso, a un certo punto vi trovate a doverlo utilizzare anche semplicemente per mantenerlo sul campo, e quindi dovete utilizzare l'aspetto diplomatico. Quindi sono tutti questi aspetti che per avere degli alleati che vi diano dei sussidi, quindi non è assolutamente banale, ecco.
So, and if we can show it, I mean, on the map, and I show you one more screen.
Ok, chiudiamo questo stream. Ok, eccolo qua.
And that is the map.
Ok, nice looking map, I guess. I have to say.
Its playtest is not final, but it will be fixed. So, and I'm just holding probably what you may know from downstairs.
Yeah. The Italian theater, here we are, that is often overlooked in 30 Years War games, but it is crucial. There is also the Spanish Road that you will speak to us later. and also all the Valtellina campaign, the Trouble in Mantua Succession. And these were the scenarios where me and Paolo Carraro helped with the historical sources and historical research.
Exactly. So the regions in the game is not necessarily the historical ones that happens, because if you know the Holy Roman Empire was more than 370 different entities. It will be not a monster game. It will be something more complicated. And I think like to finding a good balance between historical accuracy and simulation, it's very complicated to find. So sometimes you have to find as a design and to set up a line. So I cannot do more, because I mean it will make the game too complex to play and it will be not easy to understand. So if I wanted to reflect Cremona, for instance, challenges with the cities from the Spanish Marqués de Caracena, for instance, or all the Mantua conflicts, I had to make them as a separate unit, as a one city region. Because if I include it in Lombardy, which is correct, it was part of the Duchy of Lombardy, it will lose its importance. So it focuses on the players. If they want to control Cremona and to follow the historical route, that's possible. The easiest way is to reflect as a one city region.
Ecco, anche appunto la parte storica funzionale del gioco, siccome spesso questa regione viene unita in una, in molti giochi sul Guerra dei Trent'Anni invece no, come vedete sono regioni molto più piccole per rappresentare la maggiore importanza delle città nel teatro, nelle singole città nel teatro, per esempio Cremona. Ecco, volete prendervi Cremona? Sì, però dovete andare a prendere quella regione lì, quindi dovete andare a fare sto bel assedio di Cremona, che non è così semplice.
As for instance, it's the same of Trieste. So it's the same case. And I'm not going to talk about Magdeburg, so the famous sack of Magdeburg. Someone said, but Saxony was not one region, it was several regions. Fine. Mecklenburg was not Mecklenburg, it was Mecklenburg-Strelitz, Mecklenburg-Schwerin. Fine. If someone wants to make that game, go ahead, contact me and I will help, but it's not a game I want to play myself. And also, it changes the scope. But having a game of the 30 Years' War without the United Provinces, without Flanders, without France, but the northern part, Calais, from Paris, from Champagne, from the French Comté, without Italy, but also without the northern part of Hungary, you are missing almost everything. So it has to be reflected.
It is not just Germany, not just German, as everyone thinks about the 30 Years' War. It is also these peripheral regions, tutte queste regioni periferiche, no? Appunto Ungheria, Moravia, Province Unite, la Francia, l'Italia, fondamentali, che spesso non ci sono, mentre invece qui ci sono.
Of course, sometimes I had to leave something outside. I mean, Venice, Poland, I had to leave it outside because at a certain point, and when we talked with Ricardo and Paolo, okay, we can include them in Cremona, we can include Mantua, first of all, because the map has still some space. It may seem that the map is too crowded, and it's not. It's made in purpose because it lets you opportunities to move around. So from the left, from the center, from the right, so you can move all around. So it's not one way or the other. So it gives you the opportunity. If you want to challenge yourself and want to take another route, probably fine. You can go not to Spinola. It doesn't need to go to the Palatinate. It can go to the south. It can go to Italy. But that's the challenge. So you take that role. Probably if you have them in the army and you left it, you left the other regions or the other armies to enter. So you have to be very careful. But what it makes the game, interesting is that you have 4 phases. The first one is the planning phase. The second one is the campaign phase, when we play the cards normally. The imperial phase, which is only happening at the end of turns 1 and 7, and the end of turn. Why is important the planning phase? On the first time of the scenario is not played because it's what is already on the map. It gives you the opportunity to plan ahead what you want to look like your turn on your idea, on your strategy. If I want to be more aggressive, maybe I need to plan ahead where to put my leaders where to select the capabilities that give you some bonuses on the time.
The capabilities are very important, yeah.
But when you finish that part, you draw the cards. If the cards doesn't match your strategy, that's the first change. But that's interesting.
I'm telling that in Italian because it's a very important point. In questo gioco ha una cosa particolare rispetto ad altri CDG, questa fase di pianificazione, e c'è una cosa che a me personalmente è piaciuta tantissimo, il planning e le capabilities. Le capabilities sono delle capacità speciali che per attivarle investite, le scegliete e danno un senso al vostro turno, quindi sceglierò delle capabilities più offensive se voglio essere offensivo, poi però prendo le carte e quelle sono le opportunità e magari mi trovo con una mano che non va bene con le mie capabilities, ma questo dà una possibilità di personalizzazione e di rigiocabilità estrema. I really loved the capabilities because, as you said, this lets you plan ahead your turn, and then there is the interaction with the cards. This is something that I've not seen in CDGs before, but it really gives you a lot of replayability or a lot of depth, because and also a lot of diversity inside your own faction. You can play the Imperial player, Catholic player in a way, and a Protestant player in quite another way, just by choosing your capabilities and then managing the interaction with the cards that you get that may be or may be not suited to the capabilities you have chosen. This is great. This is a really interesting point on the game.
And in the planning phase, the first one who selects is the one who has the initiative. The initiative is the one from the previous turn who is behind. So it's a way to compensate a bit. Mm-hmm. But you can always have some defect capabilities. You have a special capability for each faction. You have a cavalry, and you have 2 dummies. And then, depending on the prestige that you have acquired on the game, based on the sieges successful, on the regions you control, battles, etc., you have a prestige in some level. So it's medium, high, or low. So you can select more capabilities based on your prestige. The prestige forces you to do something during the turn, so not stay, because if you're winning, probably you're a bit conservative and you stay behind the line. You're not forcing yourself. You're not battling. You're not taking sieges. So, and you have more than 30 capabilities. And the fun part of the capabilities is that some can be used by one faction or the other. But you can select from the other, because if you think that capability is too good for the other, I take it. I may not use it, but I avoid them to use that.
It's just like in Eurogame. I take some capabilities just because I don't want you to use them, so that I can select them just to avoid you forbid you from using. Un po' come negli Eurogame, ci sono alcune volte si possono scegliere le capability dell'avversario semplicemente perché non voglio che lui le possa scegliere anche lui. È molto interessante, un gioco di interdizione, something of an interdiction game. Like it, I really like it.
And it doesn't cost you any operation, so during your turn, you can use it as many as you want, of course, if the capability allows you so, to boost. Just think like a siege, it can have up to two steps, but a +1 on the siege, it may increase the chances to get it, so... Mm-hmm. But for instance, the capability of cavalry, it gets you +1, on the battles, +1 on the movement, or +1 on the sieges. As long as you use that capability, you cannot use for the whole turn. So sometimes you are forcing the other to do something, so they use that capability in a siege and not in a battle. But you have 2 dummies, so you can select up to 2 dummies and show them, because it's face down. You are not sure what is the other showing until it's not revealed. So it's a bit of game, of bluffing at some point. So be careful of what the other shows and not. And talking about the operations, so you have the different operation points on the cards. What you can do is to recruit new militias for 1 point. It's called deploy. You can have use a diplomacy when you move the tracks for 2 operation points. So you can have closer the alliance to you, or on the other hand, you can move back to the other. So you are using the counter diplomacy. You can select the Protestant to place naval blockades. What it allows the Protestant to gain more resources and to deduct to the Catholic. You can use operation points to get more resources. You can use them for sieges and for battle. And the sieges, it's so interesting because some people said it was not a war of sieges. Yes and no, depending how you present it.
Not just like the succession wars, later succession, Austrian succession, Spanish succession, that was more a war of sieges, but also the 30 Years' War had its own fair share of sieges.
So you have the operation, so it's so easy. You add the modifiers, you add the modifier from the leader, capabilities, and you roll a die, a 10 die. The 1 is a failure no matter what you use. From 2 to 4, it's no effect. From 5 to 9, you increase 1 level. And as long as the siege increases the 2nd level, you win. But if you draw the 10, it's automatic success. No matter what. So you always have a chance of 10% at least that you can succeed, but it could be there. And for the battles, you have 2 options. You can use a minor battle, which is 1 operation point, or you can use for 3, which is a major battle. What is the difference? Because on the major battle, the casualties are higher.
Yeah.
The reward on prestige is higher. You can promote units. And probably it's a way to force the other not to be so aggressive, because as long as you are in a major battle, you will not reach the number of units needed for a siege, for instance. Maybe you don't win, but you avoid the other to taking the siege. So that's a lot, of planning ahead in the game.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
And that's, for instance, that is a bit, of the game. So you're moving around the cities. You're moving for 1 movement point. You're moving, with an army which is with a leader. So you're moving with the least mobile units. So if they have 3 operation points, movement points, and one has a 4, you move with the 3, so with the lowest. But there is the 2 special connections, and that's the Spanish road, which is the yellow dot line that goes from Milano to Luxembourg. And the Catholic can use it during the whole turn for 1 movement point, between cities. So moving from Milano to Alessandria costs you 1 movement point. To Asti, 1 movement point. So if you're moving with a unit with 3, you can reach Dol. Because the difference in the game, in the normal movement, is that if you move between minor cities which don't have a shield, it costs you 1 movement point. But if you move to a fortified city and you do control it, it costs you 2 movement points.
You have to bypass
it. Which is in red. And Milano, which is a capital, is 3. This reflects that these cities were more prepared for a defense. It was harder to move around to reach the cities. So moving with the Spanish road, it's easier. Yes, probably during the first turn, because on the second turn, Savoy enters into play. And it may block. So if in the first turn, the Catholic moves to control Savoy to avoid this problem, they are leaving the doors open to someone else. So be careful.
Ci sta parlando dell'importanza della strada spagnola, no? Questa rete di comunicazione fondamentale. Normalmente tra le città maggiori, vedete il rosso, si spende quel punto di movimento. Lo spagnolo, il cattolico, usando la strada spagnola, si muove lungo da una città all'altra sempre con un punto, spendendo sempre un punto di movimento. Ma se la strada spagnola viene interrotta, come fu storicamente, poi con la Savoia e tutto, lì sono problemi, quindi capite anche l'importanza strategica. And after that you will remember you need to speak to us about your other game focused just on the Spanish road.
That is during the turn, so it may block, but at the end of the turn, the tertius that you move to Milano, if the road is blocked, you cannot move them. Because we will explain later, but that's a history. So you move them into Lombardy and you move across the route. But if it was blocked, you cannot do it. So what was the alternative in 1634 when the route was blocked by the French when they invaded Lorraine? To use the Valtellina path.
Okay, here we are.
And you can move exactly as the same. It's 1 movement point. And people, they know the Valtellina path, but they don't know exactly the route of the Valtellina path, where it moves to Milano, to Tyrol, then it went to Baden. Rheinfelden was like a major or fortified city. When it fell with a Breisach to the French, well, to Bernard of Saxe-Weimar, but later he was joined by the French. So this blocks completely the movement from Spain, from the north, of Italy to Flanders.
Okay.
So that's the challenge, on the game. That's the game. So, it's not complicated to play. It's complicated to make the strategy, what to move, what to do. Of course, we are
lots of moving parts. Lots of moving parts there. But not so complicated. Each one it is rather simple. The fact is, like on all stages, you have to, as you said, balance more dimensions, different dimensions.
Sometimes it's not possible because it was during one of the playtests that it was almost going to fall down, Prague to the Protestants. So the Catholic, was forcing to use more military resources, but that's what was said, that don't follow the enemy strategy, follow your own, because if you follow the enemy, you're probably going to lose. So if I'm forcing you to spend resources on a siege, I'm allowing you not to be active on the military. So be careful on what you plan ahead.
Yeah. Okay, Daniel, let's go to the Spanish road from C3i. And this is a game we will have. Oh, El Colapso, just one thing, is when will it be out, more or less? Do we have already a publishing date for El Colapso?
El Colapso, I will leave for sure the files this year. So the earliest it will enter into production, of course, that's something, it's not set on stone, so it should enter to production. As the last talk I had with the publisher, early next year or late this year.
Ok, quindi o la fine del 2024 o l'inizio del 2025. Late 2024 or early 2025. Ovviamente con tutte le variabili del caso, perché parliamo sempre di pubblicazione, quindi sappiamo benissimo tutti che ci sono sempre le difficoltà del caso. Però comunque sia, questa è un po' la finestra di produzione per NAC Wargames che è stata prevista. E adesso Daniel ci farà vedere The Spanish Road, che è il gioco invece su C3i, e questo è in arrivo sul prossimo C3i.
So the Spanish Road, it was a small game that it was given at the last BellotaCon. Of course, the BellotaCon is next week, so if someone is going from Italy, just let me know.
Next week.
It's so busy, and this year was a bit complicated, but people is gonna have a lot of fun. And it was made, as a free game to give to the attendees. So there was no money taken for neither me, the publisher, or even Neil Johansson, who made the art. And I'm trying to show it.
Sta parlando della BellotaCon, che è la grande convention spagnola a Badajoz, che ci sarà il prossimo fine settimana. Fra l'altro noi ringraziamo la BellotaCon perché questa idea delle convention virtuali l'abbiamo avuta dalla prima convention virtuale che fece la BellotaCon nel 2020. Remember the first virtual BellotaCon in 2020 that actually gave us also the idea for this kind of convention. It was a great example. It was a great, really great experience.
Exactly. So let's see if I can show the map, which is not shown, but okay. Does it work? Well, I can show the screen of what was in Spanish. Ok.
No, naturalmente lo vediamo in spagnolo, poi in C3i l'avremo in inglese.
So I'm trying to upload it, but it's not working. The difference is that, of course, it will be everything in English.
Okay.
You will have no information. There is some minor changes on the counters, but it's something, not important really. And what it shows is the Spanish road history from 1567, when the Duke of Alba moved. The first time it was used officially. It was used before, but officially. And they moved with 10,000 soldiers, mainly the Spanish tercios. At that time, was still alive, very close alive with Spain, so it was easy move. So it was about 40 days to move to the northern Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And the game is reflected until 1634 with the Cardinal Infante Ferdinand. Since the route from the Spanish road was blocked by Savoy, but also from France when they controlled Lorraine, the only way was to move from Tyrol and southern Germany, and it was the famous Battle of Nordlingen, as people may know it. So the game reflects these options. Of course, you're choosing one of the leaders, and you may not use directly the route that it was historically taken, but take another path. But this is a solitaire game that you have to be very careful because you have some options, but you're going to suffer attrition.
Yeah, also here, attrition.
So this is a game like it's more abstracted with strength, of the units. But be careful because you have two operations to use, and you have so many options. And each turn, it moves the clock. So you have to reach Flanders, so that's a goal, for the game. So you can, if you don't reach Flanders, you don't win. And even when you reach Flanders, you have to evaluate your performance. How many regions you control, what is the strength of your army.
How many losses you had.
How many losses. You have during the turn some events that it may change you the opportunity. So be careful. And that's the game, and it has been translated by Stuka Joe. Niels Johansson updated the art. It's 22 counters, so it's not a big game. It's not complicated to play, but it's so challenging. And
great.
When the C3i approached me to make the game, it was absolutely yes.
Yeah, absolutely. For our Italian listeners, praticamente questo è un gioco appunto sulla strada spagnola, su El Camino Español. No, keep it on the screen so that I can still speak to us. Yeah. E praticamente sarà nel prossimo C3i, è un solitario, vi vedrà impegnati a tenere aperto la strada spagnola con il sistema che cercherà di chiuderla con il francese. Anche un po' più astratto ovviamente di quello che abbiamo visto di Colapso, perché appunto le unità sono generiche, perché tutto quanto appunto storicamente nel contesto storico, e appunto poi alla fine del gioco, delle varie battaglie che avrete, i vari confronti, dovrete maneggiare, gestire un po' tutti quanti i vari aspetti del vostro esercito, di questi terzi spagnoli che dalla Lombardia dovranno poter arrivare alle Fiandre, perché erano i due grandi teatri operativi dell'epoca, l'Italia e le Province Unite, quella che oggi è l'Olanda. E alla fine del gioco, se riuscite a tenere aperta, potete fare anche delle vie alternative rispetto a quelle storiche, il gioco comunque valuterà l'attrito che avete subito, le risorse che avete speso, le perdite che ci sono state. Quindi sembra un giochino, tra virgolette, in realtà è molto sfidante dal punto di vista strategico e anche molto ha un grande contesto storico. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much for this very, very interesting exposition. Yeah, carry on if you have anything more.
Yes, and also this is like a game that it's a small game, so it lets me to disconnect from the main one. So, but it's also like a small part. And we have, another game, about the defense, what is the Siege of Cadiz in 1625.
Yeah.
And that is a game like it was given free, as one of the conventions, in Cadiz. So it was an opportunity to show one of the minor conflicts that in the period. It was the Anglo-Dutch try to siege of Cadiz. What it was something like people was not aware of that conflict. Siege was Cadiz was almost gonna fall down, but at the end it didn't fall down. So this is a game that we're having now as a print and play demand. So if someone wants to reserve the game, so we have it on Facebook, on Twitter, so if someone is interested, because we don't take any money, we just cover the printing cost.
Okay.
And that's an opportunity for people to know more about these games and just having fun. And it's the opportunity to meet with C3i. It's fantastic to show the history behind the conflict. It's so important. to find a good balance.
Yeah, per chi volesse, hanno fatto anche un gioco sull'asseggio di Cadice, di Cadiz, alla fine del Settecento, molto bello, molto interessante. Qui un gioco leggero ma estremamente interessante. È un print and play. Scrivendo a Daniel, insomma, contattandoli su Facebook, anche qui, eccetera, poi potete riservare una vostra copia, che appunto loro lo fanno, ecco, diciamo, non è un'operazione di profitto, ecco, lo fanno solo per coprire i costi, just cover the printing cost, cioè soltanto per coprire i costi, però è un altro modo di giocare con la storia, con una battaglia, con un assedio molto, molto serrato, di cui si sa veramente molto, molto poco, spagnolo, inglese, insomma un po' di tutto, come spesso succedeva, quindi un'altra opportunità. Thank you so much for having me, Daniel.
Thank you so much. So if you have anything that you want to know more or have any question or people, I'm gonna be the whole day available. So if someone wants to drop me a
Se
message,
qualcuno ha delle domande, delle cose, eccetera, Daniel sarà qui su server tutto il giorno, lo potete trovare. And my wife still thanks the guys from Bellota for the ham, for the fantastic ham Monserrano that you sent us.
Buongiorno Maria.
That you sent us during the virtual convention. It was really appreciated, and also the great T-shirt that I regularly use during my video, my streaming, my convention. It's fantastic. And maybe next year we will be at Bellota.
And I'm sure, like, I mean, the shipping will be not, I mean, in a short time. But if you send me something of the story, I could show it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do. Thank you so much. Thank you. Grazie a tutti per essere stati qui. Daniel rimane comunque qui nella stanza e comunque sia raggiungibile su server. Daniel will be, you can reach Daniel here on the server, on the room, for any demo, from maybe if you want for a
and
play.
After that, if you want, and Ricardo can send my contact information if someone wants to, so it's no problem.
Quindi tranquillamente diamo tutti i contatti. Grazie a tutti, ci vediamo e ai prossimi eventi che stanno ancora andando avanti, e ci rivediamo nel corso della giornata. Bye bye, thank you Daniel.
Thank you so much.